Do you remember the feeling of watching an anime and knowing this is a classic? A show so legendary you'd make your future kids watch it just to pass on the legacy. When's the last time you felt like that? Like you just witnessed anime history? For me, it's been a long time and I think I finally understand why. Back in the early 2000s, anime felt different. Shows were slower, yes, but they took their time building characters, themes, and stories that really meant something. It wasn't just about flashy fights or eye-popping animation. It was about the journey, the message, and the emotions that stuck with you long after the credits rolled. Nowadays, a lot of modern anime look incredible. The animation is crisp, the action is non-stop, and the hype is real. But somewhere along the way, the art, the storytelling got pushed to the background, and that shift changed everything. To put all of this into perspective, let's look at the most popular anime of recent years. 2025 will probably be Solo Leveling. 2024 was Solo Leveling. 2023 was Frieren, a respectable anime in this economy. Get out of here, you're destroying my argument. 2022 was ChainsawMan, 2020 Jujutsu Kaisen, and 2019 Demon Slayer. Now let's rewind back to the early 2000s. 2002 had Naruto, 2004 had Bleach, 2006 had Death Note, 2007 Gurren Lagann, 2009 Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, 2010 Angel Beats, and 2011 Hunter x Hunter. Notice anything? The most popular anime of the early 2000s are all classics. They've stood the test of time, not because of flashy visuals or bombastic soundtracks, but because of their storytelling, their characters, and their world building. Shows like Death Note, Fullmetal Alchemist, Naruto, Angel Beats, and Gurren Lagann, they connected with people on an emotional level. Their animation was fine, sometimes even rough, but that didn't matter back then because what mattered was the story. Now compare that to the last few years. Solo Leveling is visually stunning with incredible music, yes, but narratively shallow. ChainsawMan is fun and unique, yes, but a lot of its hype is carried by MAPPA's overworked animators that haven't seen their family since 2015. Jujutsu Kaisen has good, strong action and high energy, but a writer that doesn't give a damn about their work, and it shows. Demon Slayer arguably has the best looking animation of its era, but with a very mid story that would have never been that popular if it wasn't for Ufotable. Only Frieren stands out as a more story-driven experience amongst all of these action shows that get art carried by overworked animators that have to work super hard to make up for the lackluster story. You see where I'm going with this. There's a clear divide between those two eras. The 2000s gave us iconic narrative-driven anime that earned their place through great writing, compelling characters, and emotional depth. Recent hits? Many of them are animation masterpieces, but they have no depth at all and they're thriving because of it. So, what happened? Why did we go from creating unforgettable classics every single year to mass producing beautiful but forgettable content? Well, there's a lot behind that shift, but let's start with one of the biggest changes: shorter attention span and the rise of algorithmic culture, aka the TikTok effect. The rise of short-form content started around 2018 with the rise of TikTok, also known as musical.ly in its early days. Not long after, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube followed suit with their own versions. This explosion of short-form content changed how people consume media forever. Audiences became conditioned to crave instant gratification, quick dopamine hits, flashy visuals, and fast payoffs. Naturally, this led into anime as well. Studios began prioritizing moment-based content like epic fights, viral memes, and shocking plot twist instead of slow burn storytelling. Why build up a character arc over 20 episodes when a 15-second clip on TikTok can bring in millions of views? But this isn't just about TikTok. There's another event that reshaped our brains and rewired our attention spans forever: the COVID-19 pandemic. During lockdown, doom scrolling wasn't just a hobby anymore, it became a way of life. Trapped indoors with nothing to do but scroll endlessly on our phones, people fell deeper into short-form content, and a large part of the anime community went through the same shift, spending 2 to 3 years glued to screens, consuming more content than ever but with less patience for depth. But COVID didn't just change attention spans, it grew the anime community massively. Let's look at some numbers. From 2020 to 2022, global demand for anime increased by 118%. Netflix anime viewership more than doubled in 2020 alone, and Crunchyroll saw a 75% growth in paid subscribers between 2020 and 2021. In other words, millions of new viewers, many who had never watched anime before, suddenly became fans during a pandemic. This wave of newcomers fundamentally changed the landscape. Studios noticed the growth, but they also felt the pressure. With so many new fans coming in and production pipelines impacted by COVID restrictions, anime studios had to make smart, safe bets. Instead of taking risks on deep, complex stories that might go over people's heads, they leaned into visually impressive, action-heavy shows that could go viral, appeal to casuals, and guarantee returns. Why spend years crafting the next Monster or Fullmetal Alchemist when a loud, fast-paced series like Solo Leveling can rake in global hype with less risk? The risk-reward ratio balances heavily in the direction of brain-dead action animes. Studios adapted to the market, to the pandemic, and to the changing behavior of their audience. We just talked about how short-form content and the pandemic reshaped how people watch anime. But this shift didn't happen in a vacuum. There's another major force at play here.
Money!
Anime went from niche to global in a very short amount of time, and with that came massive pressure from the market. In the early 2000s, liking anime made you different, and not always in a good way. People who watched Japanese cartoons were often labeled as weirdos, perverts, or both. Anime was niche, underground, and unapologetically Japanese. Fast forward to today, and anime is mainstream. It's everywhere. Netflix, conventions, TikTok, gaming collabs, and with that level of attention comes new expectations. Studios aren't just making shows for otaku in Japan anymore, they're making content for everyone. The West, South Asia, Latin America, anime has to work globally. Back in the day, studios could greenlight something like Gintama, for example, my personal favorite anime, filled with Japanese humor and cultural references, and not worry if Western fans didn't get it. Nowadays, a show like Gintama probably wouldn't even be approved. It's too culturally specific and hard to export. Instead, studios go for what's safe. Action-packed stories, universal themes, simple, hype-driven plots, and genres that are easy to merchandise and monetize, like isekai, battle schools, and overpowered or reforming protagonists. These are the safe formulas they sell. They're easy to dub, easy to clip, and easy to turn into mobile games, merch, and gacha pulls. Try selling a game about Vinland Saga Season 2, for example. Who would want to play a reskinned version of Farming Simulator? It's really hard to make games and other derivative products of narratively driven shows, and that's why they are less promoted by studios. And from a business perspective, it all makes sense. Studios are investing millions into those productions. They're no longer making anime for a few hardcore fans. They're building global IP franchises, so they bet on what works. But this commercial shift has a cost, and that cost is often storytelling. So now we have studios chasing global markets with safe, flashy content that sells, but there's another big reason why modern anime feels so different from the early 2000s. Technology has leveled up, and not always in a good way. In the early 2000s, anime did not look amazing, and that was okay. Technology was very limited, digital tools were not nearly as advanced as they are today, and hand-drawn animation took time, money, and effort. That limitation forced studios to focus on something else: storytelling. If your animation wasn't going to make people go crazy, your characters had to, your world had to, your plot had to make people go crazy. Nobody was watching a mid-story anime with mid-animation. There was simply no reason to. Fast forward to today, and it's the total opposite. Studios like Ufotable and MAPPA are out here animating weekly episodes that look like full-length movies. No wonder their animators haven't seen their family since 2015. With modern software and production pipelines, anime has never looked this good. And ironically, that's part of the problem. Because when animation alone can carry a show, why bother writing something deep? Why take narrative risk when good visuals plus good fight scenes equals guaranteed success? And when anime fans don't have enough brain cells to realize they're watching polished trash. We've entered an era where animation can cover up for weak writing, and for studios working under pressure, that's a very appealing trade-off. As a result, the rise of stunning animation has coexisted with the decline of meaningful storytelling. Take Solo Leveling, for example. Visually, it's insane. Every fight looks like a cinematic event, but let's be honest, the story is paper thin, and I am really, but I mean really trying my hardest to stay professional here. The characters are empty, the dialogue is generic, and the stakes barely evolve. People don't watch Solo Leveling for depth. They watch it because it looks cool. The main character is edgy, sexy, overfarms and gets all the girls. Now compare that to something like Monster from 2004. The animation is minimal, no flashy fights, no god-tier visuals, but the writing is a masterclass. Monster builds tension, explores morality, and dives deep into human psychology, all without needing a single viral action scene. Only a couple Sigma Mel edits maybe. Back then, the animation supported the story. Now it replaces it. On top of what's already been said, there are a couple other elements that provoked this shift in the world of anime, but none of those are massive enough to deserve their own section, so let's get into the last category. The other elements. Let's start by talking about accessibility. Back in the days, watching anime wasn't easy. You had to dig through shady websites full of scam, ads, random pop-ups, naked people, and single mothers 200 meters away. Just clicking the timeline bar could send you to the realm of eternal computer viruses forever. Watching anime back then was straight up a grind. You needed skills to avoid all the bullshit. Now, you've got Crunchyroll, Netflix, and Funimation. Everything is clean, fast, legal, and just one click away. And with that, anime became massively accessible to a younger audience. But that convenience also came with a cost. Kids now grow up watching Demon Slayer and Solo Leveling as their introduction to anime. That's their baseline. They didn't start with Naruto, Code Geass, Gurren Lagann, or Fairy Tail like the most of us. So for them, anime isn't about slow character arcs or emotional payoff. It's about flashy animation, fast pacing, and epic moments. And that shift in audience means studios now cater to what this generation wants, not what the older generation grew up loving. And social media only amplifies this. It's way easier for a fight scene to go viral than a quiet, introspective moment. That's why clips from Jujutsu Kaisen blow up, while Vinland Saga Season 2, which has some of the best writing in recent years by the way, gets dismissed as just boring or just people talking. Let's be real here, nobody's making TikToks about emotional healing or moral ambiguity, but Gojo hitting a domain expansion? That's getting shared everywhere. And then there's the franchise economy. Studios don't just want a good anime, they want a brand, something they can turn into a game, a movie, a gacha, or a novel. Solo Leveling is a merch machine. You can milk that IP for years, but something like Desperate, for example, a beautiful, self-contained story, but it ends, no sequel, no spin-off, no easy money. In today's industry, standalone story-first anime are a gamble, while franchises are safe and they pay. Narrative-driven anime didn't disappear overnight, it slowly got pushed to the backseat, replaced by shows that deliver instant gratification, explosive visuals, and easy global appeal. We're in the era of brain-dead, overfarming isekai, OP protagonist hype anime. That doesn't mean everything today is bad, far from it, there are still great stories out there. But now they have to fight way harder to stand out in a landscape that rewards spectacle over substance and short-term engagement over long-term impact. Anime can't rely on a good story alone to be popular anymore, it has to have way more. Anyways, that's my take. Am I just a boomer stuck in the past, or am I speaking facts? Let me know in the comment section, I genuinely want to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed the video, you can drop a like and subscribe so you can see more, and it also really helps me out with the algorithm, which seems to enjoy cocking me recently. If you want to hear me rant more about modern anime, you can check my Solo Leveling video, Solo Leveling, an anime which I really love to shit about, or you can also check my other videos. Until then, take care and keep watching what you love. Bye bye!